Hey everyone, so today I'll be doing a very special review. It is a review for Okami. Now Okami is a PS2 game. It is a Capcom game, as you can see here, and the team behind it is called Clover Studio. So before I get started, I do want to mention how much of a gem of a game this is. It is spectacular, really original. If you're after a game with originality, charming characters, with an excellent story, a well-paced story, I think you'll be very impressed by Okami. First of all, before I start, I just want to say a huge thank you to the people that have watched my videos, who have sent me some really nice responses, and for that I really have to say thank you. Obviously haven't been with YouTube for a long time, but I've already received a lot of kind words, so I really want to take the time to thank those people who took the time to private message and comment to me, so thank you. So with all that gushy crap out of the way, I will be moving on with the review. So first of all, I'll be starting with story. Okay, so Okami is a classic story of dark versus light. It's been tried and tested a billion times, but Okami done it in a way that was incredibly original. It's got its own look, it's got its own charms, it's truly one of a kind, this game, and if you haven't experienced it, I think now would be a great time to start, because Okami, they have released an HD version for this game, so if you want to play Okami the best way possible, I guess you can pick it up on PSN Network. There's also a Wii version as well, so if you own a Wii, heck, I think this game was made to be a Wii game because the use of the celestial brush, but we'll get onto that further on into the review. The story, first of all, is basically revolved around our character here, Amaterasu. So basically, this game is set 100 years prior to the game itself. So she has been sealed away in stone. She was a guardian of her village. Her village is called Kimiki Village. Basically, she has been turned into stone from Orochi, which is the arch nemesis of this universe. So it's very reminiscent of Final Fantasy X with their arch nemesis being Sin. So it's not too much of a far stretch in terms of story. But yes, like I said, it's a dark versus light story. So basically, she's been resurrected. So the aim of the game here is to restore beauty and glory back to her world and back to her village through the use of miracles. I will be getting to that as well, because it's really spectacular what they've done with this game. So without giving away too much of the story, it is basically what I said: good versus evil. You are accompanied with Amaterasu, a little wolfy friend here, along with Asun. So basically he's like an aspiring artist. So he accompanies you on your journey, and I'm still having a lot of troubles trying to pinpoint what his species is. He's basically, I think he's like a cricket and an ant with an umbrella shaped head. It's so hard to put him into a category of species here. But yes, along with the story, the characters are just as charming. They make you laugh and they make you go, oh my god, this guy's a douche. But honestly, if games make you do that, then you know you've got a cracking good story. So story is excellent. It's well paced. Everything from beginning, middle to end. They don't spoon feed you and they don't just throw hunks of story at you. It separated the story just beautifully. It's truly damn near perfect, I would say, the story. So I will be moving on to the next part, which would be characters. Characters in Okami, just like the story, it's one of a kind. Never before have you been able to use a non-humanoid character. Well, there have been, but very rarely do you play a wolf, and a very exotic looking wolf, might I say. See there? She's really extraordinary looking. So basically, there's quite a few characters. Like I said, it's mainly revolved Amaterasu and Isun. There's quite a few sub-characters there. There's one called Susano, I think his name is, and he's basically heir to. He is heir to. I think he's supposed to be heir to a very great legacy in terms of being a warrior, and he's just a complete dud. And he thinks it's him doing all these miracles with his sword, but really it is our great friend Amaterasu here. So there's a lot of quirky characters, but honestly they're just perfect. Every single one of them. I can't put the characters down. So I think I'll be leaving characters right there, because there is a lot to discuss there. But I would say that Isun is probably my favourite character. He carries a lot of comedic banter. He's a bit of a sleaze for a little ant, cricket, whatever you want to call him. He's a bit of a perv. He likes hitting on the wood sprites, or the spirits, if you will, and he tries crawling into her cleavage, which I just found absolutely hysterical. So I think that's basically all I want to discuss about characters. If you really want to know the characters, you have to play the game, and that is the aim for me for doing reviews, is to get people to pick up the games. So the third thing I'll be looking at would be gameplay. Now, I'll be doing something a little bit different with gameplay now. I'll be mixing it with music, because it's hard to review a game without having its accompanying their soundtrack or their music. So gameplay, it is like a platformer game, hack and slash, a little bit of RPG, so it's a really, really original mashup, I think, anyway. So the gameplay mechanics, you basically control our friend Amaterasu here. She's given a lot of tools, and basically the aim of the game here is to reach out to the trapped deities that have been sealed away. And I think there's 12 in total, and each time you do meet a new deity, they grant you a miracle. And with these miracles, you can do a plethora of things. You can, with the Celestial Brush, I will be getting to the Celestial Brush by the way, you can basically circle something, and it's called the bloom technique. And what this technique does is basically makes dead plants, dead trees just spring to life. It's really, really gorgeous to look at. There's too much to talk about. I think I'll be just skimming the surface here. The second most notable one would probably be it's like a vine snatch thing. Like, she basically draws a line from a lily pad or a flower looking thingamajig and traces it to her, and she basically grapples it through the use of a vine. It was just really special, really spectacular. Like I said, there's a million out there, so I think I'll only have time to squeeze in 2, otherwise we'd be here forever. So gameplay, when it comes to the fighting mechanics, it is really quite straightforward. It puts you in arenas, and in these arenas you have multiple enemies or just a few enemies, if maybe one at all, maybe just one. So it's really quite generic at first, but once you get into it, because you do have 2 types of weapons, you have your main weapons and your sub weapons, and you can mix these up in any way you want. And there's items and collectibles to, you know, increase your attack power and yada yada yada. So it's really quite classical hack and slash play, if you can call it hack and slash, because very rarely can you just pull out a canvas and draw a line through them and it cuts them in half. So that's another thing I'll be discussing. It is a very important technique of the game. It is called the Celestial Brush. Now basically, you hold down the R1 button and it comes down with like a canvas of the world that you're in. And with the Celestial Brush you can paint pictures, you can draw lines, create cherry bombs, Oh, you can do heaps of things. You can even use it in battle, like I've mentioned. So I think this is the sole reason it is the sole reason that makes Okami stand out, which is the use of the Celestial Brush. So it's really quite unique. It's really hard to describe too without giving too much away. Even if I do try giving it away, it'll still be too hard to explain. So I think I'd better leave gameplay at that for now. So the next thing I'll be looking at would be the music. Now the music's really authentic. If you can't hear it, it's basically really authentic Japanese music with, I think the instrument is called, what's the name of it? The shamisen? I think it's called the shamisen. It's basically like a little guitar with like 3 strings and no frets, I think it is. It's really classical, it's beautiful, it accompanies the game extremely well. All in all, just can't complain at all, it's stunning. Along with music, I will be mentioning the voices. Just to clarify it, there are no voices in this game. It's basically a hodgepodge of mishmash sounds that they've put together to make these very, it might seem cute at first, but it's rather grating when you get into the game. It's basically like, if you saw the beginning trailer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think that's probably the only thing that weighs the game down slightly, would be the use of those mishmash voices. But do not let that deter you from this game, because it is outstanding. That is probably the only thing I can pick on for this game. Other than that, the game is damn near perfect. So the last thing, second to last thing I'll be looking at would be the longevity. Longevity was fantastic. I really didn't expect it to last this long. I think I clocked around about 25 hours total, so there was a lot to go back and do. There's a ton of side quests you can finish. So it's a real classical RPG mechanics. You know, lots of side stories. And for once in a game, they are not a chore. It's like you don't want to just jump straight to the end, because you can do that. You can just progress with the story. But the side quests weren't a chore to me, and I had no qualm whatsoever going and finishing those side quests. So if that isn't saying something, I don't know what is. So the final thing I'll be looking at would be graphics. Now the graphics, along with its story and character, along with everything else, it's really spectacular for a PS2 game nonetheless. So basically it's kind of hard to explain. I guess the style is calligraphy style, so if you find calligraphy like elegant and graceful and beautiful to look at, I think you'll be absolutely mesmerized by the graphics of this game. It looks like a piece of paper. The game looks like paper, and everything's just been, brushed with ink. It's really, really stunning, and there's like pops of color everywhere. They don't shy away from color whatsoever. There's purples, pinks, greens. It's just, the game is just really lush in terms of its graphics. So the final thing I'll be adding in a few side notes. So basically, the team behind this game, Clover Studios, this was their final game. And it's extremely sad to hear that this was their final game, because games like this should make developers and publishers create a new game, and it's really sad that this was their final game. But it did not go. It was unnoticed, extremely unnoticed at first, but it caught up, and from what I gather, it is now in the Guinness Book of Records for I think it is the most critical acclaim for a low-selling game, and I think it's got that record on the Guinness Book of Records. I really have to double check that. But that basically sums Okami up in a nutshell for you. It's extremely underrated, but it's just one of a kind, this game. If you want to play originality, if you want something striking, something charming, I highly, highly suggest you play Okami. Very rarely do I strongly make suggestions about video games, but I strongly recommend you to try Okami. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So just to wrap things up, what I do want to say is, I hope you picked the game up. Like I said, there's an HD version on PSN Network. Anyone has any comments to share about this fantastic game, please let me know. I'm really, really dying. I was absolutely dying to talk about this game. Just, aching to talk about it. Hopefully I'll be seeing you in my So thanks again. I know it was a really on-the-spot review. I really didn't have a lot of time to research this game. It's, as always, top of my head, on the rush. So I hope to see you next time. Bye.